Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
So it's a beautiful day here today. That's we're out in the garden, but it's not too hot, or else we wouldn't be out in the garden. And for some of you, it may be Janmashtami if you're in India, so happy Janmashtami. And if you're in the USA, I just found out it's also Janmashtami. Here in the UK, it's Wednesday the 6th of September, and it's not Janmashtami. So Janmashtami is tomorrow for us. We're celebrating tomorrow on the 7th. Thursday the 7th. So, like that, my long cherished desire, I just shared this with one senior devotee, it would be really nice if we could just follow one calendar globally and everyone celebrates on the same day. Wouldn't that be amazing? But Hare Krishna. So anyway, we're reading Bhagavatam, whether it's Janmashtami or not. So we're going to read the glories of the Lord. Where are we?
Canto 4, Chapter 8, Text 6.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Text 6. Maitreya continued, O best of the Kuru dynasty, I shall now describe before you the descendants of Swayambhu Manu, who was born of a part of a preliminary expansion of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Purport. Lord Brahma is a powerful expansion of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Although Brahma is Jiva Tattva, he is empowered by the Lord, and therefore he is considered a preliminary expansion of the Supreme Godhead. Sometimes it happens that when there is no suitable living being to be empowered to act as Brahma, the Supreme Lord himself appears as Brahma. Brahma is the plenary expansion of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and Swayambhu Manu was the direct son of Brahma. The great sage Maitreya is now going to explain about the descendants of this Manu, all of whom are widely celebrated for their pious activities. Before speaking of these pious descendants, Maitreya has already described the descendants of impious activities, representing anger, envy, unpalatable speech, quarrel, fear, and death. Purposefully, therefore, he is next relating the history of the life of Dhruv Maharaj, the most pious king within this universe. Yeah, okay, so now we're going to read about Dhruv Maharaj.
I like in this purport, because we hear it sometimes, and it's just where does it come from, but this is a quote from Prabhupada explaining that, first and foremost, that Lord Brahma is Jiva Tattva, and second, that if there is no Jiva qualified or suitable to take the post of Lord Brahma, which I often find hard to believe, because there's also a statement that every living entity, when they first enter the material world, they all take their first birth as a Brahma. But I guess because there are unlimited universes emanating from the pores of Mahavishnu, that means easily all of those persons can be accommodated in all those unlimited universes as Brahmas. But sometimes there isn't a Jiva to take the position of Brahma, and therefore the Lord himself appears as Brahma and takes the position. I mean, it reminds me of Krishna taking the role of the Sarati, the chariot driver for Krishna.
Partha Sarati.
Yeah. Well, Sarati is the driver, but Partha is the name of Arjuna. So it's Partha Sarati, so it's the driver of But yeah, so like that. That's the humility of the Lord, and also his inclination to do the needful, let's say.
Yeah, so sometimes if you're a manager or parent, you know, we may feel always having to do everything. Why can't people just get on with doing it? So even Krishna has to do that sort of role where, oh, there's no one suitable to be Lord Brahma, I guess I'll have to do it. Because someone's got to do it, so the boss has got to fill in.
Yeah, I remember hearing one lecture from a senior devotee, and he was explaining, like, this is kind of the role also of the temple president, that if there's no one there to cook the offering for the deities, then the temple president does it. If there's no one there to lead the kirtan, temple president does it. If there's no one to give the class, temple president does it. No one to offer the arti, so like that. Person in a leadership position has to be ready and prepared to step in and fill the gap and do the needful when it's required. So that's in the mood of Krishna. Hare Krishna. So text number 7, right?
Yeah.
Translation. Swayambhuva Manu had 2 sons by his wife Shatarupa, and the names of the sons were Uttanapada and Priyavrata. Both of those great sons, great pastimes. Because both of them were descendants of a plenary expansion of Vasudeva, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, they were very competent to rule the universe, to maintain and protect the citizens. Okay, so they were both great leaders because they were descendants of a plenary expansion of Vasudeva. And who was that? That's Swayambhuva Manu. So like that. Purport. And of course, Brahma, I guess, right? It says, who was born of a part of a plenary expansion. Yes, so it's talking about Brahma being a part of a plenary expansion. Purport. It is said that these 2 kings, Uttanapada and Priyavrata, were specifically empowered by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, unlike the great king Rishabha, who was the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself. Okay. So yeah, so they're empowered by the Supreme Lord because they are the grandsons of Lord Brahma. Manu is the son, and they're the grandsons of Lord Brahma, who is a plenary expansion of the Supreme Lord. It seems random here that Prabhupada explains that they're specifically empowered by the Lord, unlike the great king Rishabha, who was the Supreme Lord himself. So it just seems quite random that he throws out Rishabha here. Any thoughts? Because it speaks about King Rishabdev in, I believe it's the 6th canto. Pretty sure it's the 6th canto. 5th or 6th?
No.
Okay. But nothing Prabhupada does is random, so I'm sure there's a reason why he puts it there. He's preempting something.
Text 8. King Uttanapad had 2 queens named Suniti and Suruchi. Suruchi was much more dear to the king. Suniti, who had a son named Dhruva, was not his favourite. Purport. The great sage Maitreya wanted to describe the pious activities of the kings. Priyavrata was the first son of Swayambhuva Manu, and Uttanapad was the second. But the great sage Maitreya immediately began to speak of Dhruva Maharaj, the son of Uttanapad, because Maitreya is very eager to describe pious activities. The incidents in the life of Dhruva Maharaj are very attractive for devotees. From his pious actions, one can learn how one can detach himself from material possessions and how one can enhance one's devotional service by severe austerities and penances. By hearing the activities of pious Dhruva, one can enhance one's faith in God. and can directly connect with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and thus one can very soon be elevated to the transcendental platform of devotional service. The example of Dhruva Maharaj's austerities can immediately generate a feeling of devotional service in the hearts of the hearers. It says here that we can learn how to enhance one's devotional service by severe austerities and penances. So this is in relation to the different ages that we're in. So in this age, I would say some people, actually not some, including me, just following, chant your rounds every day attentively, not just chant, attentively, follow the four regs, read Prabhupada's book, study here. This is severe austerity. Let's be honest, in this age of extreme distraction and laziness and people getting on your nerves or whatever. Like one devotee was just speaking and sending a lot of messages because she's a bit upset, understandably, not dismissing the feelings, but I was just preaching to her and saying, maybe just read, maybe just take some shelter, maybe it will help, maybe it will, because not in a way to say, just chant Hare Krishna, buzz off, but sometimes we forget the coolingness and the peacefulness that taking shelter can bring. So like that. So this severe austerity and penance, Dhruva Maharaj, what he did, we're not going to be doing that. We'll learn about what he did if you don't know, but we have enough austerities and penances just with what Prabhupada gave us, the simplified version of self-realization in this age of Kali.
Well, this is such a nice point. Of course, the Yuga Dharma for Kali Yuga is chanting Hare Krishna, but I remember Srila Prabhupada saying that simply, like you said, exactly, chant your rounds, follow the four regulative principles, and this is enough austerity in Kali Yuga. So it's tough enough just to do that. Most people are not able to do that. You ask them to follow the regulative principles, they think you've gone mad. And if you ask them to chant for 2 hours a day, they think, why would I waste my time? So like that's the majority of people. So it's a big ask, actually. It is a big austerity. And of course, devotees, they're so incredible that they add even more austerities on. They fast for Kartik, they fast for Chaturmasya, they fast for what's the month? Purushottam. So
anything.
They fast, or they take on extra austerities, so like that. Okay, so text number 9, right?
Yeah.
Once upon a time, there we go, the beginning of the story. Once upon a time, King Uttanapad was patting the son of Suruchi, Uttama, placing him on his lap. Dhruva Maharaj was also trying to get on the king's lap, but the king did not very much welcome him. Text 10. While the child Dhruva Maharaj was trying to get on the lap of his father, Suruchi, his stepmother, became very envious of the child, and with great pride she began to speak so as to be heard by the king himself. Purport. The king, of course, was equally affectionate toward both his sons, Uttama and Dhruva, so he had a natural inclination to take Dhruva as well as Uttama on his lap. But because of his favoritism towards his queen Suruchi, he could not welcome Dhruva Maharaj despite his feelings. Interesting. King Uttanapada's feeling was understood by Suruchi, and therefore, with great pride, she began to speak about the king's affection for her. This is the nature of woman. If a woman understands that her husband regards her as a favorite and is especially affectionate to her, she takes undue advantage. These symptoms are visible even in such an elevated society as the family of Swayambhuva Manu. Therefore, it is concluded that the feminine nature of woman is present everywhere. Interesting statement about women, and could be taken derogatorily, but you're in a woman's body. What are your thoughts on it?
I don't have a problem with it.
Does that mean you agree that it's true?
Well, what I was reading is that... Oh dear, sorry.
What happened?
Oh, sorry for the cackling. Because my microphone fell. Hold on. We're going to pop now. See, when I'm reading this, even though Suruchi, the stepmother, typical story tells.
The wicked stepmother.
But when I read this, I just felt, as a lady, you feel insecure. And especially you feel insecure if you feel your spouse is giving affection elsewhere. And more so, I mean, in this time, they were allowed to have 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever wives. But let's say I'm a wife, which I am, and then there's another woman who was a wife and she had a child with my spouse. This is all hypothetical, by the way. Then I'm trying to think, yeah, and then that kid comes and we don't have kids, or even if we do, but the kid's being affectionate. If I was a lesser woman, then I may feel, insecure. This is her stepson, and this is, oh dear, sorry, that wasp got stuck in that web. Can you see that? That was gross. It got out though. And oh god. Anyway, the point is, Suruchi's made out to be the big bad wolf, but the fact is that this man, who is it? Uttanapad, he's got 2 wives, so you have to man up. You need to make sure both the wives are happy. It's a fact. Why you got 2 wives and you mistreat one and you mistreat the kids? So she's feeling insecure. That's why you're lashing out at the child who is your stepson, because you're feeling envious. What are you doing? I thought I was the favorite. Now, why does she think she's the favorite? Because her husband makes her feel like that. Why is that? Because you're less of a man, and you have to make both the women feel good about themselves. Otherwise, don't take on the responsibility of having 2 wives and having children with them.
That sends the Bhava Bhakti Devi Dasi purport.
Yeah, that's my thoughts on it.
Interesting how the man always gets the blame, and the women don't have to control their own mind and senses, because they're women after all, right?
Well, they says in the scriptures they're childlike, they're innocent.
Yeah, we like to use that when we.
Oh my days! That is a male response.
No.
Is it? Put it in the comments, please.
No, that's a female response, isn't it? Put it in the comments. Anyhow, I'm gonna have to go toe to toe here in a minute. No, but I mean, I get your point, and it definitely makes sense. That is the responsibility, but it's highly unlikely. It's sort of like, even if you have kids, and don't put this in the comments, but even if you have kids, you may love them both, but sometimes there's one that you favor more. It's just a fact. If you have cats, you may love them both, and people will say, no, but I love them differently. Yeah, right. I mean, if one of them is a dirty, rotten toe rag and always in trouble, and the other one is like a goody two-shoes and always getting straight A's in school, then, tell me you aren't going to favor the one that's getting straight A's. It's like Krishna. He's impartial. He is impartial. He's not bothered. But naturally, he's more inclined to those who are devoted to him. and that is explained he's still impartial. He's happy to give his mercy to anyone, but those who are more inclined to serve him. What, man? Where is it now? It wasn't on you at all, was it?
Look at the microphone's on the floor. Can you hear me?
We're going to finish this session.
He did it again. There was a spider on him and he did it again.
Just flicked
on the... It was on his camouflage spiders. So now on my sari, I won't know if it's on me. Oh my God.
Is that it?
I'm sorry, everybody. We're not going to sit in the garden again until it's winter and all the bugs have died.
Pick up the microphone.
My nerves are on edge. Need a ginger shot.
Okay, so I can't even remember what we were talking about. So thank you all very much for tuning in, and it's always an exciting adventure here. I see. This is exactly what we were talking about. So I should have been more controlled and been calm and just taken in, flick the bug
over there.
way.
But you.
Yes, but it's my fault because I flicked it, because I'm not entitled to be like, okay, I don't want the spider on me either, so I flicked them, and then he went over and you saw her reaction. But it's the nature of a woman to be freaked out by spiders. A lady, yeah. Alright, Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, everyone. Please read the Srimad Bhagavatam. Have a happy Janmashtami. Amazing Vyas Puja. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.